All right, cool. Yeah, welcome everyone to the June meetup. Excited to have you all here. We'll have a great presentation from Alex coming up, and then another presentation that's going to be it's recorded video, and they'll tell you why. But it'll be Brian Olson from Trino, which we'll play at the end. And the video runs a little bit long, so today's meeting would be a little bit longer. But you know, if you have to leave on the hour, then don't worry, the recording will be out. So we'll get started. That said, so I just did a quick run through of the agenda per usual. Product roadmap update, community stats up front. We're hiring. Check out jobs.superconductive.com. There's a bunch of positions in there. Still continuing to grow. So jump on board. All right, going to go into the project and community stats. So last time we met, we've gained 402 more people to Slack, continuing that steady growth up. Exciting to have more people in Slack and get more, usually equates to more improvement to the product. So it's good to have more people in. Our PyPy usage had a great month last month, another like a million more than what we did the previous month, but it looks like there's a little dip in here, so we'll have to look into that. But otherwise, a better month than the previous by about a million. Shout out to our contributors for Andrew, for Wame, Andy Jessen, who I always see in there. Thanks so much. We have from Rafat Komodo Dragon, 2 new expectations that have come in. So go check out their new expectations, validating hexadecimals and expect column values to match powers of a base, given that the base is a positive integer. So check that out in the gallery. We have some our top Slack supporters. Veronica has been doing the most, which is amazing over the past couple of months. So thanks so much to Veronica. And then we have a new name in here for Benji, who's you can see in the Airflow channels, who's been really helpful with maintaining that. So thanks so much to everyone who's contributed in both GitHub and Slack. That's not a good slide. So I'm going to pass it to Don, or I'll still, whoops, I'm just clicking buttons frantically. I'll pass it to John, to Don, who will go through the product roadmap.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So next slide. Our aspirations for Great Expectations, they remain constant, to be able to say honestly that it's powerful and expressive. After years of development, the core APIs are robust, stable, and thoroughly tested, and it's easy to get started. Next, we've got a couple of upcoming launches for Great Expectations, and I want to take a moment to distinguish a launch from a release. So we release Great Expectations every week, which is wonderful, and probably like what I consider probably the fastest cadence for that you could reasonably achieve with what ships as a library that gets included with a version number and all this kind of stuff. And that allows us to include community contributions and have those surface much more quickly, and bug fixes and all this kind of stuff. But it's difficult in releasing every week to, like, it takes many releases to pull together what would be considered what we consider a launch, and that's where it's a feature that we've been developing over some time that's reached a level of readiness. And that level of readiness also includes great support from documentation, integration with the CLI, and contributor documentation, so that you can figure out how to take advantage of the stuff yourself. So we've got a couple of upcoming launches, one around auto-initializing expectations, which we demoed a few months ago, where you don't have to provide the parameters to expectations, but it'll use a profiler to figure out what the parameters for that expectation should be. And with data assistants that we've also spoken to before, and will be featured again in this demo, with the onboarding assistant, which should ultimately come to replace the user configurable profiler in our onboarding docs and provide a much sounder way of estimating values and generating better expectations than the current profilers can. And the launch here would consist again of the same kinds of docs, the integration of the CLI tool, and make it part of our getting started tutorial and the like. So we've got 2 upcoming launches around both of those features that you've been hearing about over the last couple of months. The current focus of the team, in addition to that, actually, is creating seamless integration with Great Expectations Cloud. And the recognition here is like, focus on creating a super friendly developer experience with great continuity into cloud. So if you're familiar with Great Expectations, the open source product, moving to the cloud product, or having your work represented in the cloud product can happen with very little effort, as close to zero as we're able to get. And then once you're in the cloud, you get all the benefits of having a hosted solution, including not least, in fact, most importantly, strong support for collaboration. So that's what the team is working on primarily right now. And if you go to the next slide, Kyle, the subsequent release, which we're now expecting for fall of 2022, is going to be focused on smoothing out the onboarding experience, in particular, making it much easier to connect to data and define batches and stuff in a way where you can incrementally add rules to and constraints and frame and sample and all this kind of stuff as you're building up a way that you want to connect to data for the purpose of describing it or declaring expectations and then having them run on subsequent batches. The new data connectors are part of that. They also introduce a way of very concretely identifying batches, which is key to us being able to do effective metrics storage or batch metric storage to support multi-batch expectations and ways of working with ephemeral data and reasoning about it over time without having to have ready access to the data from which the metrics were generated. And just 2 quick notes here. These changes for V16 are all additive or non-breaking changes. And as part of that release, per our code deprecation policy, code deprecated in V13 or earlier would be removed from the V16 release.